Hey, how it's going guys, you are watching FreakLad Gaming YouTube channel. In today's video I will show you top 5 games which you can run on your 4GB RAM low-end PC without any graphics card. But keep that in mind that all the above 5 games in this list are not ranked. Which means that the number of the game will not define the quality of the game. So now let's get started, but before the intro.
Let's roll.
3, 2, 1.
On number 5 spot we have Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3 is a 2011 first-person shooter video game, jointly developed by Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Games and published by Activision. The game was released worldwide in November 2011 for Microsoft Windows, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. The game's campaign follows Modern Warfare 2 and begins right after the events of its final mission. Similar to Modern Warfare 2, it is centered around the Task Force 141, which contains Captain Price, Soap McTavish, and Jerry, one of the playable characters. Alongside the Delta Force and Special Air Service, they hunt Vladimir Makarov, antagonist of Modern Warfare 2, a Russian terrorist who leads the Russian Ultranationalist Party. He leads several terror attacks across Europe, triggering a large-scale war between the ultranationalists and friendly forces. The player assumes the role of various characters during the single-player campaign, changing perspectives throughout the progression of the story, which, like its predecessors, is divided into 3 sets of missions called acts. Each mission in an act featuring a series of objectives that are displayed on the heads-up display, which marks the direction and distance between such objectives and the player. Damage to the player is shown by the visualization of blood spatter or red dots on the screen. The player's health regenerates over time as long as the player character avoids taking damage for a limited time. Mission objectives vary in their requirements, ranging from having the player arrive at a particular checkpoint, to eliminating enemies in a specified location, to standing their ground against enemy squadrons, directing remote-operated weapons, and planting explosive charges on enemy installations. So definitely worth a try. On number 4 spot we have Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 is a third-person shooter video game developed by Rockstar Studios and published by Rockstar Games. It was released for Microsoft Windows on May 29, 2012. The game is played from a third-person perspective. Throughout the single-player mode, players control Max Payne, a former detective. 9 years after the events of the second game, Max becomes employed as a private security contractor in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but becomes entangled in a quest filled with death and betrayal. Max Payne 3 is a third-person shooter in which the player assumes the role of its titular character, Max Payne. A new feature to the series is the cover system, which allows players to gain a tactical advantage and avoid taking damage from enemies. To progress through the linear story, players take on enemies throughout levels. The game features interactive cutscenes which transition seamlessly into continuing gameplay. There are no loading screens across gameplay and cutscenes. In combat, auto-aim in a cover system can be used as assistance against enemies. Should players take damage, painkillers can be used to regenerate health. Players use melee attacks, firearms and explosives to fight enemies. In action sequences, bullet time can be used. Using this feature, it is possible to see every bullet strike an enemy in detail. The game also introduces a last stand mechanic, granting players a grace period when health is fully depleted that allows the player to kill the enemy that last wounded them in order to remain alive, so long as the player has at least one recovery item. So definitely worth a try. On number 3 spot we have Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 is a 2009 action-adventure video game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. It is the second major installment in the Assassin's Creed series, a sequel to 2007's Assassin's Creed. It was released for Microsoft Windows in March 2010. The plot is set in a fictional history setting and follows the centuries-old struggle between the assassins, who fight for peace with free will, and the Knights Templars, who desire peace through control. The framing story is set in the 21st century and follows Desmond Miles as he relives the genetic memories of his ancestor as the Auditor de Firenze. The main narrative takes place at the height of the Renaissance in Italy during the 15th and early 16th century. Players can explore Florence, Venice, Tuscany, Monterigny and Forlì as they guide Dazia on a quest for vengeance against those responsible for betraying his family. The primary focus is to use the player's combat and stealth abilities, as Desmond begins to uncover the mysteries left behind by an ancient race known as the First Civilization in the hope of ending the conflict between the Assassins and Templars. Players directly control the on-screen character through a third-person perspective. The game takes place in an open-world environment with non-linear gameplay, allowing the player to roam freely within several regions of late 15th century Italy such as Venice, Florence, Monterigny, Forlì, San Gimignano, Rome, the Vatican only, and the Tuscan countryside. The health system has been made more dynamic, with synchronization to the animation causing the character to recover only from minor injuries. More grievous injuries require visiting a street-side doctor or use of medicine, which can be purchased from doctors or found on bodies. So definitely worth a try if you love open-world games. On number 2 spot we have Crysis 2. Crysis 2 is a first-person shooter video game developed by Crytek, published by Electronic Arts and released on March 2011 for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. The game is the second main installment of the Crysis series, and a sequel to the 2007 video game Crysis, and its expansion Crysis Warhead. Crysis 2 is a first-person shooter. Similar to its predecessor, it provides freedom to customize weaponry and abilities. Crytek wanted to avoid making another game set in a true jungle environment, as for Far Cry and Crysis, New York City has been dubbed an urban jungle. The urban atmosphere offers new options with relation to progressing and planning attacks. Players are able to navigate between floors and buildings, as well as a destroyed cityscape. The player assumes the control of a Force Recon Marine named Alcatraz, who gains ownership of the Nanosuit 2.0 from Army Delta Force Officer Lawrence Prophet Barnes, who returns from the original Crysis. Crynet Systems has been hunting Prophet to retrieve the suit, inadvertently pursuing Alcatraz, believing he is Prophet. So definitely worth a try. On number 1 spot we have Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 is a first-person shooter video game developed by EA DICE and published by Electronic Arts. It is a direct sequel to 2005's Battlefield 2, and the 11th installment in the Battlefield franchise. The game was released on October 28, 2011 for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. In Battlefield 3's campaign, players take on the personas of several military roles: a U.S. Marine, an F/A-18F Super Hornet Weapon Systems Officer, an M1A2 Abrams Tank Operator, and a Spetsnaz GRU Operative. The campaign takes place in various locations and follows the stories of two characters, Henry Blackburn and Dmitry Mayakovsky. Battlefield 3 features the combined arms battles across single-player, cooperative and multiplayer modes. The game features maps set in Paris, Iran, as well as other locations in Iran, Somalia in Iraq, New York City, Wake Island, Oman, Kuwait City, and other parts of the Persian Gulf. The maps cover urban streets, metropolitan downtown areas, and open landscapes suited to vehicle combat. Battlefield 3 introduces the Battlealog, a free cross-platform social service with built-in text messaging, voice communications, game statistics, and the ability to join games that friends are already playing, though both players need to be on the same platform. So definitely worth a try if you love first-person shooter games. So that's all for today's video guys. If you liked it, Make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon and give this video a thumbs up to show how much you like the video in numbers. And guys, meet you in the next video. Till then, stay home and stay safe, and most importantly, take care of yourselves. Bye.